We're shit up our ass, ready to go. It's time to fucking go. All I want to do is fucking eat. I want you to eat. I want you to eat. I want you to want this shit. Do you want it? Do you want it? Show me.
The Sock Jig Sneaker Podcast is the only sneaker podcast that actually knows what the fuck is going on. Welcome to episode 6 of the Sock Jig Sneaker Podcast. I'm your host, Sock Jig. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SockJig. First off, I want to thank everyone who bought the socks that I dropped, both the cream and the bread pair. You know, it really does mean a lot to me that people are interested, that people are buying, that people like it, that people have good feedback, that the socks are really good. Like I said on my Twitter post right before the drop, there really is just, if you're listening to this, there's really no other audience. It's just us here, to borrow Kith's phrase. You know, no one on Instagram knows me. No one on eBay knows me or Grailed. It's really just this kind of Twitter audience and this thing that we have here. So I really appreciate it. In a future episode, I will go over like the making of socks. It might not be a super interesting episode for everyone. But there's I want to talk about some of the things that I learned through the process. And you can replace socks with anything that you're kind of doing, and it might be of interest to some of you. But in this episode, I talk about the Warren Lotas shoe, the Reaper shoe that he dropped, and the Nike suit that's going on. I recap the Mocha drop. I have a new segment called Say Something Nice. The Sneaker Guy of the Week is coming up. I actually had a Halloween themed segment called Terrifying Thoughts. That's because I planned on dropping this podcast episode last week, but it got kind of delayed just because I dropped the socks and I wanted to focus on shipping those out. So dated segment coming up soon, but some of the stuff I think still applies. And I also do my top 20 New Balance sneakers of the year. 20 is kind of exhaustive, so I just made a list and I kept going and I stopped at 20. But I wanted to give a warning about this episode. Some of the stuff I talk about is related to bots and stuff, might be super technical. I don't exactly always stop to explain what I'm talking about. So there might be parts where if you're not into this world at all, you might not understand. I think it's still a worthy listen, but in the episode notes I usually have the timestamps in here, so feel free to skip ahead if that part's not interesting to you. My other warning is some of this stuff sounds super nerdy when you say it out loud, when I'm talking about proxies and checkouts and tasks and stuff like that. So fair warning, I'm going to sound like a huge nerd on here. Please don't make fun of me. Thank you. On feed for most of this week, I've had on the New Balance Salehi Bembury 2002R. This is a dope shoe. It's super nice. It's got a lot of nice details. The purple piping is 3M. The suede is really thick. The box is fire. It's got a lot of really nice features. Like the tongue is like a saddle type of leather. It's got these little twirly things at the back heel. These are pretty limited. They were hard to get. I actually got a size up because that's all I could get. But it actually worked out fine. And so this 2002R model doesn't fit exactly like, say, 992s would, because going a size up on a 992 would probably be way too big for me. But it worked out for this one. So I'm glad I was able to pick it up. And like I said, like I had forecasted in the previous episode that I thought it might be like, 500-600. I still think it could reach that point. These are super limited. It is still, an influencer type shoe. So the forecast thing is not meant to be, me to be 100% correct all the time. It's meant to be kind of get my thoughts on there, what I think. And oftentimes if I think something is going to be high and it isn't, it might be a sign that later on it will be high, or I could be completely wrong. So that's why I said, don't use it as a measure of resell. So rest of the pickups, it's kind of a long list this time, which is kind of usually more the norm instead of just one or two. I picked up the Chicago SB Dunks on the Premier VIP drop only. This is a drop for gold or diamond members only. And the question was around a skate shop in Chicago, and the only skate shop I know there's Uprise, and it said it starts with a U, so that was the hint. So I was able to get that. I also picked up the Dunk Low Craters from them from a similar type of drop. Those Crater Dunks, they are not good at all. So if you're trying to buy them, I suggest you take a look at them in hand first. The idea is pretty good, but the execution on them, it looks like a shop apron. The toe box is all weird because it's got different materials. There's no tissue in the box itself too, because it kind of goes with the whole environmentally friendly theme. But they are junk in hand. I picked up the Anthracite Foam Posit. I'm not sure why I pick those up every year, because I end up just like leaving them in the pile and then a year later selling them. I picked up the AJ3, the blue cements, and they're okay in hand. I think the red one's a little bit better. I was able to get the Halloween Air Force Ones. I was able to pick up the Philly Blunt SB Dunk High Pro. Well, one of the monitors I'm in is called Distortion. They picked it up from some skate shop, so glad I was able to get those. And in the middle of the Mocha drop, I was able to pick up the Notra Vans. I got the blue ones with the little handshake side stripe thing. I like I said, that's my favorite emoji, so that's the only reason I picked those up. And of course, I was able to pick up the Dark Mocha Air Jordan 1, which I said is a referendum on if you're washed or not, if you can get those or not. I hit on Shop Nice Kicks. I had a sock jig ready on there, and also ready on Shoe Palace, but Shoe Palace didn't drop, so I immediately switched to the other tab and added to cart and was able to hit my size, which is pretty lucky for me because size 12 stock is like way low, and I saw way higher stock in 8.5s and 8. Even obviously, even though demand is way higher on 8 and 8.5s, but stock is way lower on 12s, but resale price is still a bit higher on 8.5s. And let's get into that. Let's get into the Dark Mocha recap, if you will. All right, the Mocha ones. How did it go for you? Everyone believed out those 1 million stock tweets and IG posts, and get a grip if you kind of believe those things. It's usually super obvious that they're fake. In the Twitter accounts that do it are usually just joke ones anyways. You just click on their main profile and you see everything else is just a big laugh. This is going to sound super simple, but basically the demand far outweighs the supply. And, even if there's not 1 million stock, the more accurate stock might be, 100,000, 150,000. Who knows? Like, could be up to 200,000. And right now, only the U.S. got their stock. The boutiques in Canada and Europe has not dropped yet. And there's probably going to be restocks as well, too. But really, the main thing is this shoe is super wearable, super nice. It looks better than the Travis one. The black toe kind of, goes a long way. It's very like OG-ish. So, of course, when you make a super nice Air Jordan 1, it's going to be hard to get. So I'll recap kind of what happened, and take everything that I say as kind of from an abstract point of view. I talk about botting and stuff here, but I'm informed about kind of what's going on, but I'm not actually doing it myself. So you're free to criticize me on anything I say wrong, but usually I'm pretty accurate here. And like I said, this is the kind of stuff you'll hear here and not many other places. So first off, I'll talk about Canada. Canada, the only really option was Foot Locker CA, and they had about 1,400 pairs. So you have the entire country basically going for 1,400 pairs online. In store, I heard that some stores had 50, some of the smaller stores and bigger ones might have had 150. And so usually for those, you got to take out 20% or 15%, whatever it is for the employees get. Most of the Nike stores had all-day lineups for their raffles. And Foot Locker, did app raffles. And even that, for every 100 people that entered, it's going to be like one person hits. For Shopify sites, it was kind of a disaster. Undefeated, they drop usually at 8 a.m. Eastern. I don't think they configured their bot protection right, so everything just flew right away. DTLR, I think, was delayed, and then days later dropped in the morning. Jimmy Jazz went super quick. So usually if something went pretty quick, either their stock is low or same like earlier, they didn't have the bot protection set up correctly. And Kith info leaked, and it came out that they only had like 100 pairs or so, and that's usually not enough. So like I said earlier, those usually go to Balco. If you're manual, you want to try on a site that has a lot of stock, so that you have a chance against Balco. So right at the 10 a.m. Eastern time, I think the only ones that really hit were Shop Nice Kicks and Jimmy Jazz. Shoe Palace was supposed to drop around then, but they didn't. They actually randomly dropped 90 minutes later. And from what I saw, that they had pretty decent stock, but because they didn't drop on time, that kind of rules out any manual person ever hitting them. Because when they hit 90 minutes later, only the people sitting behind a monitor are going to be able to get any of those. And from what I saw, not every monitor picked up the Shopify drop. So usually when that happens, Shopify is killing proxies that most monitors use. So if your monitor did pick up, thank your monitor dev there, because they are probably paying for the better proxies. But Shopify is just the undercard for this. The main event is obviously foot sites. Okay, so what happened on foot sites? To back up a little bit here, foot sites always use a combination of Akamai and Perimeter X for bot protection. Akamai is cookie based, so before you see a lot of bots would make you harvest your cookies. Phantom did this and a couple other ones, where you would have to click a button, make it generate, and it might take forever to do. Perimeter X, I can't remember off the top of my head what they do, but it's usually junk, and bots have no problem bypassing it. But there was talk leading up to this that they were going to switch to Data Dome as a solution. And Data Dome is basically more IP based from what I can tell. It kind of gives your IP a score. If it's a good IP, it'll let you through. If not, it'll possibly give you a CAPTCHA. So for this drop, bots weren't exactly prepared because they didn't know what was going to happen, how Data Dome would go. Some had done some preliminary work and had some sort of temp solution, but the way it goes is you're never going to know until it's actually time to give it a full test. Another thing I'll mention here, there's been a lot of talk that foot sites are moving to Qt. That is all just theater. The theater of making people show that you care about bots. It's not a real bot solution. I guarantee you, no bot dev is worried about Qt. So if it does show up, and when it does show up, every botter is going to be like laughing, like, haha, what the hell is this? But every normal person is going to be like, oh yes, I have a chance with this. My man is moving. You're going to have very little chance. So when it's drop time, some bots get through and they get some early checkouts. And then from what I could tell, I was hammering away. I got through queue. I'm just doing everything manual. I'm not doing anything, running a bot or anything. Randomly, I did see a few people manually get through in that early kind of first 30, 40 minutes phase. I had no such luck. So as the drop was going, I didn't see that much success, even among bots. For this whole drop, I was in voice chat for the group chat I'm in called Showers. Shout out Showers gang. And they're running bots, so I'm just kind of listening in, kind of half trying on my measly one task manually while they're running. So everything I kind of summarize here is usually from them. So a shout out to everyone in voice chat. But from what I can tell, not that many bots were getting in that first hour or so. So it's hard to tell what was working there. Was that Data Dome, or was that just them killing proxies or whatever? And then word got out that basically, all the sites are going on pause for a few 20 minutes or so. Someone at a bot, Whatbot or Cyber, or someone has a plug, and usually, there's tons of people in all the groups that have those bots, so they make those announcements, and then it filters out to everyone else. So this is where botters have an advantage, where the product page itself went to and it said sold out, not available. So if you're just manually sitting there and you've been trying for an hour and you see this sold out page, you probably got up and left. But everyone else in this community knew that that was just the sale was going on pause for now. So they knew enough to, wait it out. And then that 20 minutes became like a 1 hour. So everyone was just sitting around waiting to get word, waiting for, the Whatbot or whoever to tell you what to do. Or they were watching the logs and seeing if anyone had checkouts. At this point, everyone usually stops all their tasks on their bots so they don't eat up their proxy data. And then they get word go that it's starting up again. Usually, I think an hour later, that's what happened. And I think when everything restarted is when most of the bots, I'm pretty sure, checked out. And that could have gone on for an hour or so. Everyone is usually just watching the checkout logs on their bot in the Cyber Discord or Kodai Discord. And you'll see that eventually, people are hitting, and then eventually it trickles down to very few people are hitting. And then when eventually it stops is when people usually call it a day that the release is over. So what exactly happened here? Mostly it was a proxy provider issue. Some did get through the Datadome IP thing check probably, and others did not. So Footsites are pretty clever in their little queue page. They have that animated GIF of that shopping bag bouncing up and down. That is actually a base 64 encoded GIF right into the page. So instead of the source of the image, so instead of just showing an image properly, which a botter could eventually just say, hey, don't load any images. It loads the whole image as text right into the page. So the page actually becomes this really big text page that you have to download completely. So that's how Footsites are able to eat up proxy data bandwidth. So the people who are lucky enough to have, a diverse pool of proxies most likely did really well. I think that is the key. Just don't buy one set and hope it runs and hope it hits, because it might not hit. I know you might be listening, hey, this guy doesn't know how to bot, but he's telling me how to bot, so take it as you will. If you had a wide variety of proxy providers, of residential data center and stuff, you probably would have. You probably hit. So from what I can tell, most bots did pretty good. All the main ones like Cyber and Whatbot and Wrath and Kodai, I think they all hit a ton. I'm sure others did too. There's so many, Torpedo, Torhu, whatever the hell they're called now. You can check their success for their Twitter for their success collages. Well done if you did hit. But overall, it was not an easy drop. The people who did hit, you could have spent $100 on proxies on a mix of residential and data center. You could have a good bot like Rush. I saw that Rush AIO did really well, and that's a CLI command line interface based bot, which I think is a super key thing that a lot of bots will be doing in the future, to do away with the graphic interface and make it all command line, so you can pound thousands of tasks at it without the bot crashing. So you could spend hundreds of dollars on proxies and get a mix of residential and data center. You could have a good bot like Rush, and which is over $2,000 now, I think, and still costs like $100 a month. And then the other thing is you gotta sit all day at your battle station, right? If your girl wants to do a Christian Girl Autumn thing, you gotta be like, hey babe, mochas are dropping, I can't, right? So you have to have your day planned out. After all that, you might hit 8 or 9 pairs, or you could have done the same thing and hit 0. And if your slot hit, or if someone helped you, it's honestly a miracle that your slot hit. Most people, I think, were just kind of prioritizing their own cards for this kind of drop instead of slots. But, there's big slot providers that's their main thing. So, if you asked your friend to run your slot for you and they hit, right, you should thank them and help them out in the future, because honestly, they were probably pissed that your slot hit and not their own. If you did not understand a word of anything I just said, let that be a lesson to you to stay away from botting, that it's not for you until you get to the point where you kind of understand what I just talked about. The future of botting here, one of the things I saw obviously was the change from this cookie based to IP based. I think there's more changes coming in the next year or two. We saw this change from cookie based to IP based. I could totally see a more location based or bans coming or identity checks or all kinds of stuff that has not been properly explored yet. All right, I wanted to start a new segment called Say Something Nice. And I wanted to say something nice about Adidas. One of the first things I wanted to mention was back during peak quarantine time, Adidas gave a whole bunch of boutiques, a whole bunch of Yeezys, tons of like 350s, 700s, like Salt, Hospital Blue, Zebra, some those Yekiel or whatever you call them. And it was a ton of stock. And I think what Adidas had said was they had told these boutiques that you can have all this stock and, hopefully keeps you guys going during, quarantine while stores are closed, but you could, drop them only online, and they couldn't promote it. They probably did this to protect the Yeezy brand as, something where Yeezys are always out of stock and only available through official channels during drop times. And, they don't want it to be something that really restocks very often, or it does only for something special like Yeezy Day or app rollouts. And Adidas could have easily dropped these all on their own app. Like they could have made fake Yeezy Day and made more money from direct to consumer, but they didn't. They gave it to these shops to kind of keep them afloat. So the only people who really hit these were the ones who were sitting on monitors that got the alerts when it restocked and could usually quick task it with their bot. So it was this weird thing where it kept botters afloat. It kept a lot of stores afloat, and the average person who's following the Packer shoes or Notra or something that got they didn't get a mailing list email about it. So by the time they heard about it, it's usually long gone. But good on Adidas to helping out these stores. Kind of related to that point is another thing I've heard is Adidas has now been taking back more stock from stores where they didn't sell out. An example of this is the A to ZX line that they've have launched with the Lego shoes and some of them. So some of those are sold out, like that Lego shoe, but other ones have definitely sat. And previously, usually Adidas and most of these brands would not take stock back. It's like you save it and discount it and get rid of it, but we're not giving you the money back for it. Whereas now I've heard that the stores are able to send some of this back, and Adidas is taking it back. So good on Adidas for that as well. The last thing I'll say is this Ivy Park Beyonce shoot that they've done. The whole drop has been really nice. I mentioned it on my Twitter. You can call the horny police, but the product shots and the videos are really nice. It's Beyonce jumping up and down in a bodysuit in slow motion. I mean, come on, it's hypnotizing. So I think they did a really good job with this. I don't know. It's not really my place to comment on women's wear, but this bicycle shorts with a crop top, a hoodie, or crew neck is kind of in right now. So I thought the whole collection was really well done. Maybe there's probably 10 or 15 too many items, but most of them looks like sold out. So good job on that. So that was me saying something nice about Adidas. All right, the sneaker guy of the week is kind of fitting with the Dark Mocha release. Is the guy who mutes the success channel in a cook group after he takes an L. The non-cook group version of this is the guy who just has to sign off from Twitter or social media after he takes an L, and he just can't stand seeing all those, got him tweets and Instagram posts and stories. You just can't escape it. So you're just like, you know what? Screw this. Time for me to go for a long walk, sign off for the day. If you're a botter guy and you're standing there and you're seeing the webhooks and everyone's tasks and proxies hitting and everything, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Why the fuck is PayPal checkout not working? What does 429 too many requests mean? I don't know. So usually you have some wild thoughts, like, and people follow through with this, like, let me tag Z-Russ here. Maybe he'll stop what he's doing and personally help me. Or you're just like, fuck, I gotta sell this damn bot. I gotta pay fucking $4K for Rush now. But first, if you do that, make sure to delete the shit talk tweets you had about Rush being $100 a month and that being too much money. Or if you're in like watch groups, and you see, where people manually post this kind of stuff in like Copt or Success channels, and it's just like, fucking that bozo hit, and I'm here missing, right? There's nothing worse than your arch nemesis hitting and you missing. You seriously just gotta have to log off for the day and just like, kind of reevaluate. Or people who are just like hitting on sneakers and hit like everything on sneakers, and meanwhile, last thing you hit was just some bullshit that bricked anyways. It's like, fuck those guys. But anyways, you're on the right path. Just mute those channels. You don't need to see it. You can always unmute it a day later. You can sign off for Twitter for the day. You can check it out later. You didn't miss anything. It's just a bunch of memes and stuff. So if that was you after the Mocha drop, you are the sneaker guy of the week. Alright, I got a Halloween segment called Terrifying Thoughts. Okay, I'm going to hold for some thunder. I'm going to put some thunder in here right now. Okay, good. Hopefully that was scary. Alright, first up, the human race shoe is trying to make a comeback. This is a terrifying thought. Who's terrified? The general public. Because they came back and they sucked. Everyone was clamoring for the trail sole to be gone from these HU shoes. And they finally did it, and they bring it back on a bunch of mediocre shoes to barely any fanfare at all. One of them, they said it's only limited to 7,777. That's not limited at all. That's like a healthy amount. Should have been limited to like 777 if they wanted to create any buzz. And it had like this fishnet all over it. Like the stuff that was left over from the D-Rep shoe. And that was a garbage shoe. That fishnet thing is probably a callback to this Adidas technology called the Dellinger web by one of their old coaches at Oregon called Bill Dellinger, which is wrapped around the midsole on some of these, old Adidas trainers like Oregon or New York. And it's meant to distribute the impact throughout the midsole. That was a little Adidas history there, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on some of the details. Anyways, Adidas should be terrified. These came back. They kind of suck. Bring back the solid colors. Maybe you have a hit. It's kind of funny that I said something nice about Adidas earlier, and now I'm back to ripping them. Another terrifying thought. What if Footsites switch to Shopify? I know people have been asking for this, like, why don't they do this? Shopify has bot protection that actually works, and Footsites don't. I don't see this actually ever happening, so this is just kind of a thought experiment for the purpose of this random gimmick segment that I made up. So, big companies like having customer data. They like having credit cards on file. They like having monthly active users. When you're a big company like all these Footsites are, they have their own system, their own processor, whatever the credit card processing fees that they've negotiated. Like a secondary party like Shopify just can't come in, take over a whole bunch of sections of that unless they're going to do some sort of wide scale change to that system. And there's got to be an appetite for that. And it's got to, obviously money's in play. But, one of the thoughts I had is like, what if Footsites just did these Shopify based site just for high heat releases only, and for everything else they have their regular site. There's tons of reasons why this would work. They would get a better user experience. It wouldn't probably cost that much. The Shopify Plus stuff costs a few $1,000s a year. I don't know, but they can. Someone like Foot Locker could afford that. I know Shopify probably has a bunch of stuff that Footsites would need, like systems integration and fulfillment and all that kind of stuff. But all this kind of stuff can be just shot down with like 3 words: 2 systems bad. There's always going to be that one guy in the corporate meeting who's going to speak up and be like, hey, we can't pay for 2 different systems. We have our system. Let's just improve that system. So, the guy who always has to speak up in that meeting, probably, that guy's also probably like, oh, we're going to miss out if we had 2 systems. We're going to miss out on the opportunity cost where when the guy who lost the Mocha, Dark Mocha Jordan 1, he's going to, rage cop Jordan 1 mid that's sitting. Not that it's happening, but you can just imagine a guy in a meeting saying that. So, for a second, let's just pretend that what if they did this? What if they did have a site where it was just Shopify based for high heat releases only? Who would be terrified? Obviously the answer is everyone who's botting right now. All their 5K bots would become kind of, worthless. Not entirely worthless because a lot of them support different sites, but still. Footsite botting can be scaled up. You can have all the proxies and all the servers, and you can scale, and run thousands and thousands of tasks, especially with something like Rush. But Shopify botting can't be scaled. You can probably hit one or two pairs if you're running for a release where you know the release time. And, of course, you can have drops where 500 botters all take one pair each. That's kind of like when stock is 500. That's kind of what Balco does right now on Kith. But Shopify has shown that they can kill bots if they want to, or, feel the need to, like they did for Union and even that Sneaker Trees drop. So, but for something like Foot Locker, say they have 10,000 Mochas, and that was all on a Shopify site on releases.footlocker.com. That's powered by Shopify. Real people would hit on a drop like that just because every bot task requires human interaction. They require a captcha to be solved. So if stock is 10,000, every botter is going to be sitting there trying to solve a captcha, and so will every manual user. So there would be success for both botters and for manual people if this scenario existed. Like I said, I don't see this ever actually happening because two systems bad. Okay, finally, the last terrifying thought. What if GOAT becomes just like StockX? What if undercuts are the norm and prices are dropping and there's fewer sales going on? Wait, shit, this has already happened. Hey, Nike's still after Warren Lotas. So if you didn't see the news, Warren Lotas is coming out with a new shoe, a replacement shoe called the Reaper or something with some skull guy on it. It's a modified dunk with the panels are a little bit different. The swoosh is gone, replaced with a skull. It's got a little sickle type thing. The first thing when I saw it is, it's pretty hard making a shoe without a swoosh, isn't it? So when you can't rely on that instant memory that people have of something else, that reference, that it makes it super hard to make something original, doesn't it? So Warren Lotas is offering these as replacements for the Pigeon or the Stussy shoes. There's also a natural gray version of this Reaper shoe and a UNC one. Those ones look a little bit better, but again, that's probably because they reference Jordan colorways, something that you're familiar with, as opposed to the more original one. So Warren Lotas offered these as either replacements or you can get a refund. And it looks like Nike filed more court documents looking for their preliminary injunction against Warren Lotas to stop even these updated Reaper shoes. They're basically asking the court to stop him from doing this while the litigation is still going on because it's still causing harm, because these shoes are still similar to the Dunk trademark that they have, or the outsole that they have. One of the interesting posts I saw was on Warren Lotas's stories was on Instagram was, I'll read exactly what he wrote. He goes, "I tapped into a culture I knew nothing about, brackets, sneakers. If it gives you something to talk about, I'm happy, because at the end of the day, this is one hell of a story." He's basically admitting to being a culture vulture here, that he didn't really know anything about sneakers, so he wanted to jump in and kind of make some money. As I said in previous episodes, I don't think Nike should be going hard after every small artist that makes a custom or a ripoff, but Warren Lotas just did it so egregiously that they almost had to, that he went at such a high scale that they had to. And even these court filings where they're asking for him to stop. If he had started this shoe from the very beginning, I doubt they'd be doing this. But because the court process is already in play, they've already asked him to stop, and he's still not stopping. That's why they kind of still filed this paperwork. The main thing is I kind of feel sorry for him that He has this talent, and he even has that X factor, the ability to connect with an audience. But really, he stole that connection by just latching on to existing intellectual property. And he did it in a way that it wasn't a homage, that it was a ripoff and a cash grab. So it's kind of sad that he can't do something original. He obviously has talent, and he probably could. And honestly, if you're an artist and someone's saying you're not original, that is like the ultimate insult. Finally, I wanted to make a list of my favorite top 20 New Balance sneakers of the year. You know, the end of the year is coming up, so I'll start probably making more of the lists, especially the one I do every year, like the worst releases of the year, the bricks of the year, and just general worst of, sneaker Twitter of the year. Those are all coming. But I wanted to recap a couple of the New Balance stuff that's been coming out. And, just to know, I'm not a New Balance head, so this is just my list. Of course, you might disagree. Make your own list. Tweet it at me. I'll take a look. I'll retweet it. There might be stuff I'm missing here. There might be stuff that's still releasing the next month or two. I'm just going by kind of what released so far already. Okay, number 20. I got the Haven 990 V5 Reflective Silver. This only released at Haven, so it's probably in super low numbers. I don't think they resell that much or anything, but I thought it was a dope shoe. I liked it. I have the black one, but I didn't get this one. My size kind of sold out pretty quickly, and so then I skipped it, but I do like it. Number 19, the RC 1300 Tokyo Design marbled one. This one has like the trail sole and kind of a marbled stone gray upper. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't buy this one either, but it's nice. Number 18, the No Vacancy In 650. This is the one that only dropped on the StockX IPO. It looks like kind of a mid. I don't think any other 650s released this year, so if they made a mold for this, they're probably coming soon. It's kind of a tan, and the N is like a browner. It's a nice shoe. It should have dropped, I think, regularly, but I'm assuming more are coming, like I said. Number 17, the Kith 998 Steel Blue. This one released was at the same time as the 992, which everyone was, people were going after both. I was able to pick up this one, but not the 992. This one doesn't resell for as much as the 992, of course, but it's sitting in my mailbox in the US, so I haven't seen it in hand yet. Number 16 is the 827 This Is Never That Tan. I'm not sure how many people are even aware of this shoe. It kind of came and went. It's an 827. It's all brown, tan upper with like a silver N. This Is Never That is a Korean brand. And that leads to number 15. Their other shoe that I have, the This Is Never That 2002 R White with the yellowish midsole. This kind of released on their site, all to cyber or bots or whatever, but they never kind of re-released it. I think it's supposed to come out again. If it does, I will probably try to pick it up. So number 14, I have the Amy Leon Aimee. Again, I'll always butcher that one. ALD 827 white one. They released a red one and a yellow one as well too. I think only the yellow one made it to stores, and I think red and white were exclusive to ALD. All these ones are pretty limited, but I think this one kind of fell off the radar a bit just because there's been so many nice New Balances this year. But because it's ALD, I could see it jumping up in the future as well too. Number 13, I have the Pata 920. Again, this is also one of those ones that only dropped on Pata. It had dropped in price. It was down to $350 at one point, but now it's way back up. So I missed the window on that. I didn't want to wake up at, Pata and Netherlands time to try online, only for bots to take most of it. Number 12 is the 1700 Kith Colorist. There's two of them. I've just picked the pink toe. I have this pair. These were pretty hard to get. So again, most of the things on this list are probably, the stock is 1,000 or less or 2,000 or less. Number 11, I picked the 327 Casablanca. I just picked the green one. This is the only 327 I have on my list. It's an okay shoe. The Casablanca ones are nice. The orange one kind of pops as well too. But even the GR ones, it's maybe it doesn't fit the shape of my foot, but it works for you. But it's a nice new model to come out and be popular. So it's good that they had a hit shoe for once. Number 10 is the 990 V2 Kiss Strike Rose. This is one of those Kiss Strikes where I'm on Pacific time, so by the time I woke up at 7 a.m. or something, it had already dropped. So I wasn't up for that, so it's gone. But the pink shade is super nice on that. The 990 V2 is one of the nicer models that I like. Number 9 is just a plain 992 gray. It's a nice tank of a shoe. Resale price, you'll see that it goes up, and then it goes down, and because it restocks every couple months. It'll probably restock. I think it just restocked recently, and I'll probably do it again. So, sometimes people will buy these and hold them, and then kind of sell them in between when the prices spike a bit. So, if you're looking for one, pretty sure it'll come out in February or March again anyway. So, just wait it out. Number 8, I have the Dime 860 V2 Silver. I'm a big fan of these. I don't have them, but these bricked so much, so it's probably not that much over retail if I did pick them up. I think I might, but I did, as you saw on my pickups list, it was pretty high, so I'm just kind of holding off for now. This is kind of what happens when the demand is not exactly there, but all the botters are the only ones that got the pairs, and then they need to cash out for Mochas or whatever, so they're just like, whatever, I'll sell it for whatever I can and get my money back. Number 7, I have the ALD 550 green, the mood boards, as they could be called, the Instagrams. It's a nice shoe. I don't think I need every color. I do have the red one here, but I'll probably only wear this green one. And it's an archive shoe done right, and I think it's coming back in all in a GR version in yellows and grays and all kinds of other stuff. So if you didn't pick these up, I'm pretty sure you'll have another chance soon enough. Number 6, I got the Packer 992. Yeah, the Packer 992. That's what it is. There's no other name. These are, the color blocking on this is really nice. The silver with the tan. I've recapped the shoe in the past. I was disappointed that they didn't make enough, that there's only 350 to the public online. Because it wasn't they called it an exclusive colorway. I'm hoping that they'll eventually drop it again. But this shoe, it goes with what's kind of in now with these. The same with the ALD 550 with these. Tans and cargo pants and stuff like that. So number 5, I have the 1300 JP. This is the one that retails for like $400 or $300, I think it is. That only comes out once every 5 years. It doesn't have the comfort of the other ones of the 992. It doesn't have the technology, but it is super nice. Like, you can see the details on it are really nice. The suede is super nice. I have these. This is one of the ones where, it's a brick in size 12, but, sells for a lot in 9.5. But sometimes you'll see it's the total opposite, which leads to number 4, my Salehi Banbury 2002R. I think this should be in, top 10 lists, but I already talked about it at the top of the show. I think it's fire. I call it the Fozzie Bears, or you can even call it the 70s carpet shoe. It stands out, and it's super nice. It's comfortable. Number 3, I have the Joe Fresh Goods 992. I know people probably have this in the top 2 of their, all lists. Don't get me wrong. I think it's really nice. Only reason I have it as number 3 is, it might not be as wearable for me, being, red and pink and mauve and everything. But Joe Fresh, that dude did a great job on these. So, they deserve kind of the spotlight that they're getting. I like how, he was able to reach an audience that doesn't, fuck with New Balance at all, and have them buying New Balance and, exploring the brand. That is the whole point of a collab. So in terms of that, it was 100% success. Number 2, I have the Jound Gray or Green 992. I have the gray one I've worn on foot. I bought the green one, but I just put it in my goat storage, hoping that the border will eventually pick up, and I can ship it to myself and go pick it up. But I'll eventually get that one out of storage. Obviously it's got everything that a gray one does, but it's also got the hype on it. So that's why it's number 2. And number 1, I have the Double Taps 992 as my favorite New Balance sneaker of 2020. This shoe is fire in all ways. Same as like I said before, it's got this olive kind of color way, goes with what's kind of in style with the color palettes that are in style now. It's got silver accents, and those are even 3M and orange highlights. I think it's just really well done. I liked how they only dropped it at places that have both a New Balance and a Double Taps account, so it was super limited. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if there's less than 1,000 of these as well. So that's my list. I'll post photos of these on my Twitter, and maybe if you're watching this on YouTube, hopefully I had the time to put up the photos in the YouTube video as well too. And more lists coming up for the end of the year in future podcast episodes. That's the end of the episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.